We are rolling on the Bachelorette here. I'm not even opening the Google Doc that you made because I just want to be surprised with your take on it. I enjoyed texting you last night, being like, "Hey, are you watching?" And then you just turn around and you're like, "Have you seen the Google Doc?" And I took a deep or like a brief glance at it, and I saw you have many thoughts, and I didn't even look at it because I just want you to take me through your thought process, and I can just peer inside of the brain of someone who's watching this for the first time here. So what was your experience leading up to the Bachelorette last night? Were you excited? Were you like bleh about it? Or like what are you feeling?
I'm very invested, and I think leading up is the key word here, because for those who are listening, I got into Bennett's DMs.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, talk about that.
Yeah, so it was kind of a mistake, but it was, we're gonna have to post this somewhere just to, like, make sure that, you know, this has been, like, checked, and I'll make sure this happens. But Elle sent me a story on Instagram of Bennett, and he was doing yoga in his living room, and it was like, you could do yoga for 30 seconds. It was just him doing yoga sped up, and he at the very end of it said namaste, with a little what do you call it, where the hands are together, like praying almost. I thought I was replying to Elle, and I was actually replying to Bennett. And so for those who don't know, I've got very mixed feelings on Bennett, and so I said, make namaste about it, Bennett's a puss. And I sent that. Bennett replies to me, and he's like, hell yeah, man, you tell him. And in complete shock, like, I'm like, oh my god, what did I just do? I'm so dumb. Like, completely on the social media scale, just so irrelevant. Like, I just don't get it. Anyways, so there's nothing else I could do, so I just sent him a heart. Because,
did you do anything after that?
No, he saw it.
Oh man, because I messaged him too, and I messaged him too, and he didn't say anything because I thought maybe he's one of those guys who's really engaged with his audience, and I guess he's only responding to trolls, which is kind of a bad practice because what you're doing is encouraging that behavior. Because now, if I want a response for him, I'm gonna say something crude because I want to get that feedback from him. But yeah, he has just been killing it on the parasocial play. His following has grown exponentially. I think he's got one of the biggest followings of any of the players the contestants, apart from Dale Moss, but he's a freak of nature. But yeah, I was dying when you told me that. I loved it so much. So off to a good start. So you've been really excited about The Bachelor this week.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about it. Not only am I invested, but I'm invested with the contestants.
There you go. Have your thoughts about Bennett changed at all? Like, are you more interested in him now? You like him more?
I actually, so before the episode and with that interaction, I actually was like, how he took it was really funny. Like that was just like the best way how to just kind of like take some stupid kid calling him a puss by just like having a laugh about it. So that was great, and he could have taken it any other way, and it would have been kind of weird. But like he just made fun of it, and I've really liked that. So actually, this episode or this week, he kind of went up in my books a little bit. Yeah. So, and this whole thing starts off with like this with the group date, and the challenge was really funny, and it was kind of like noble in a way where they have to like write Tayshia a song, and it was kind of like pretty cute, and like Bennett was there, and he was like trying to like make a rhyme, like do a little trying to rap, and it's
I was
Bennett,
expecting so much more from him. He made it sound like he would kind of be okay at it, and it just fell so flat for me.
Yeah, it did. He was really getting into it, and I thought it was kind of cute. So Zach was up first, and that kind of like set the tone, and it was like viciously cringy. And I was just sitting on the couch. I'm like, oh my god, like this is brutal. But after I kind of took that away, I was like, okay, these guys are just they know they don't have it, so they're just like screwing around. Which was like super funny. And then and that was just like confirmed by Blake. He took the absolute piss with the accordion. Like he just didn't care. He's like, I'm just gonna scream, essentially, and just like jam on this accordion.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to do that. Like, if you have no musical skills whatsoever, like the best thing you can do is just go so hard in the other direction, but don't expect to win. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he just had fun with it, and that was really good. But well, something I need to know is, and maybe you can explain to me, who's JPJ, because Easy threw in some references, and like people were like, oh, and the people that I were with were just like, oh, hot damn, like that was a oof, like he got roasted.
Okay,
and I just had no idea.
Yeah. JPJ is a contestant on Hannah Brown's Bachelorette season a few seasons ago, and he was kind of played the role of like clown, I guess. He is this like JPJ. His name's John Paul Jones. They call me John Paul Jones. So he's just kind of weird surfer dude. Anyways, on Bachelor in Paradise, he and Tayshia like got together, which is very a mismatchy couple. It does not make any sense because he's such a clown, like a very attractive guy, but like just a general goof. So yeah, just a dude that she dated on Bachelor in Paradise, and she dumped him on Bachelor in Paradise, but then she flew to his house and wherever he's from to rekindle their relationship, and then shortly after things ended. So yeah, that's kind of a background on JPJ, and now you know.
Okay, John Paul is his Instagram handle John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just kind of scrolling through his stuff right now. Very like surfer dude vibes.
Oh yeah, he sounds exactly like a surfer dude too. Like, hey, they call me John Paul Jones, and yeah, he's just very surfer duty type guy.
He seems pretty funny. I kind of like. I like his steez.
He is funny.
Okay, so that clears that up. A little bit of context for me. So Ivan's like game. Okay, Ivan's like just a wholesome, cute guy who is just the sweetheart, totally harmless, and it works for him because obviously he's got a connection with Tayshia for the past two epis. He's just like been just an adorable human being, and she's loved it. So he won that challenge. He like did some poem for her, and you just like if you do notice like how she looks at him.
No, I don't. Is it adoringly?
Yeah, there's got to be a word for that. Like adoringly basically sums it up, but there's got to be a word for when you like look at someone with like eyes wide open, big smile, just totally infatuated with her. Is that a word?
Yeah, I think that would work.
Or with him?
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, they won, and I was wondering, like, I don't know, I don't think that had any influence from the producers. So this is something that I'm learning too, is like producer influence, and I've started following like Instagram pages, like from like Bachelorette memes to like just normal information about the Bachelorette and Bachelor. So everyone talks about producer influence, and you've touched about this before, but I don't think they had any influence on this decision.
No, it seemed pretty genuine, and like I say producer influence, but it ultimately is the lead's show. Like she'll give a list of guys who her top 3 is, and they'll want to explore those relationships. So I think she totally has input on it, but I think the producers can sway her in certain directions if they think that it'll kind of prompt a storyline. But yeah, you're right. I think in this scenario, she wanted to hang out with Ivan, and I don't blame her. He's super sweet.
Yeah, I quite like him too. I like he just seems genuine.
He's what, an aerospace engineer or something, an astronautical engineer, and he's 28 years old. Like,
Yeah,
hello.
he's a nerd. He's great.
Yeah.
You want a nerd.
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
Like yours totally set up. Your man and yourself, like last week, went mushroom hunting. Now that
I don't love mushroom
perfect.
hunting, but it's so funny because like my boyfriend is generally pretty cool, I would say, but he has some really nerdy hobbies like mushroom hunting. He's so pumped on mushroom hunting, and like he loves space documentaries and fantasy, like, but yeah, it's pretty funny. I'm set up with that.
It's a good situation.
Mm-hmm.
That whole segment ends and Noah and Brendan are just like broing down trying to figure out like what Tayshia's type is. And like after from what I've seen between like Ben and Ivan and like Spencer for a little bit, I haven't seen a whole lot of Spencer, which is slightly concerning because actually I quite like Spencer. But like between and I genuinely don't think Noah is her type.
No.
But like
No.
maybe between Ben and Ivan, I personally think her type is kind of sweet, a little bit innocent, wholesome, like genuine guys. Nothing too edgy. Like, what would you think her type is going to be?
I mean, it's really hard to pin down. Like she was into Colton when she was on Colton season, and he's a bit of a plug. So, and then she was into JPJ, which no one saw that coming because he is like a goofball, and every guy that she's vibing with, I just don't get. But that's just because those wouldn't be guys that I would be interested in. So it's hard to pin down. I think her strongest connection is probably with Brandon. Is that it, Brandon or Brendan?
Yeah, Brendan. Oh yeah, and Brendan too. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably her strongest connection. So yeah, I think the link between all of them is kind of like soft, lovely people, from what I gather. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like she's not attracted to Kenny, who's this like cool, hip boy band manager who models. Like she's not leaning towards that type of clientele.
This is when like obviously you can tell when the producers have influence, because now I'm starting to figure it out and it's like pretty obvious. So like mm-hmm. They have like their date, and I know that they can't go on these crazy adventures because like, you know, COVID, and so they're stuck at La Quinta. And so they have basically like what is it called, room service night.
Yeah,
and he goes over, Ivan that is, because he won the competition, gets some time with Taish, and they're like hanging out, and she's like, okay, we have to order this food, but we got to go to my room because in the room is the phone, and we have to place the order over the phone. So the floor is lava. Let's go to the room. And it's like, oh, what the hell?
It's super cringy.
And the people are, yeah, it was kind of cringy. And like, poor producers, what a challenge it must be to try and make this thing like fun and engaging, because like that was weird.
Yeah, like their whole date was sitting around and playing board games, whereas like it's kind of sad that you haven't watched real Bachelor and Bachelorette, because they like will literally go skydiving on these dates. They'll fly you up to a mountaintop and then have like a stinking mariachi band serenading you as you like wander around with like crowns and stuff. Like it's unbelievable. So they're doing the best with what they have, but it's not a genuine season here. The dates are awful. But that being said, this is the type of date you would have with like a real person. So I think the connection that you're getting is probably a little more genuine than the high that you're getting from doing these remarkable like scuba diving dates with people. Like obviously you're going to be on like really excited and happy after having this amazing experience. So you're probably more inclined to be into this person, I guess. But these are real life dates that they're having where they're just kind of chilling. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a lot more normal and relatable. It would be nice to go on a first date and be like, haha, we're going to like a mountain today, and we're gonna have a mariachi band ski down with us while we do that. Eat caviar. Yeah. But like that's not. Yeah. So, I mean, the only unrealistic thing about that whole setup was that Sunday bowl, and like I noticed that. Well, here's the thing. It was
dripping.
Yeah, they didn't eat it fast enough. The two girls that I was with last night, they didn't even notice it. I'm like, what the hell? Did you guys even see that Sunday bowl? And they're like, no, what are you talking about?
It was really upsetting me. I was actually thinking about the displacement of it as like, that's going to melt really soon, and that high tower of ice cream is going to melt down and all of it's going to spill over. It was bothering me. It's so wasteful as well.
It was dripping everywhere. Yeah. And I went on and I was scrolling through like the Instagram during the commercial, and like, did anyone notice this ice cream bowl? Did anyone notice this ice cream bowl? Like, everyone was talking about this ice cream bowl, and it wasn't just me, so that was nice.
Oh, yeah.
People got the eye. People have the eye for this show. It's good. So, yeah, they got into this producer-induced pillow fight.
Yep. Again, you're absolutely getting it. You're catching on. It's beautiful.
I'm there.
Yeah, with all the extra feathers just, like, packed in there to make it more visually pleasing. Like, brutal. Yeah.
So then, you know, they're hanging out. They eat a ton of food, and then they're just making out. And I don't know. Something about watching people make out is uncomfortable. But, like, I think I could watch them have... Sorry, this might sound weird, but this is just, like, how I feel. Like, I don't think I could watch someone make out, but I think I could just watch them have, like, sex instead. Does that make sense?
You can't say that. Is that because you're comfortable watching porn, but you're not comfortable watching people just, like, make out?
I don't know. I just, like... It just crossed my mind. I'm like, it was just watching two people just, like, make out, the noises, but then when
the noises is the worst, yeah.
Yeah, like, mouth chewers, and, like, I don't know. Anyways, sorry, I just, like... That just crossed my mind. Like, I think it would be easier if I actually just watched them have sex than make out, because, like, I think making out is kind of uncomfortable to see.
Yeah, it seems like it seems like a very personal thing, but I mean, so is sex. So I don't know.
No, it's not.
It's so interesting. Sex is personal. Oh my gosh, you're such a boy. Okay, next, moving on.
So people are, you know, it kind of goes to the boys. They're talking about Noah, and they're upset because he's, like, being greedy. It's just kind of like starting drama, I guess. But, you know, I guess if there's any comment on that, it's like Noah. I think we talked about it. It's a little bit producer-induced, with Noah jumping the fence, perhaps.
Yeah, and they're for sure giving him the villain edit. Like, maybe things aren't even that extreme in the house, but they need to have a villain, and here's the guy. And even it was in one of the previews, or even something from this episode, where he's like, I don't want to be the villain of this. And it sounded like he was about to say the villain of this season, but it seemed like they cut that out on him. So that would be a little editing tool that they used. But yeah, they're totally giving him that edit, because I mean, every season needs to have a guy who sucks, I guess. So there you have it.
Well, I mean, that's Ed for me, but that's a whole different story. So I guess my point is like, Noah, he put himself in an uncomfortable position. He's doing the work to get her attention, and it's like, you're either Noah or you're Ben. So I'd rather be someone like Noah who gets called greedy, rather than someone like Ben who just kind of, you know, expects things, per se.
Yeah, I hear that.
So
also, are you, like, typing or something? Because you're muffling.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I have a candle, and there's this, like, sticker on it, and I just peeled it off, like, nervous. Sorry, that sex comment, I was just thinking about it, and it was just off the cuff. And then I'm just, like, thinking about it a little bit. So I'm just kind of like, no, don't cut it out. Keep it in. Keep this all in. This is great. This is the raw boy take on the Bachelorette. This is good.
Okay.
Listeners are listening to this and they're going to be like, this is what goes on in a boy's head. This is good.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
So, cuts back to Ivan and Tasha, and they're like, this is where I'm starting to kind of figure out again, like, the conversations they're having, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Bachelorette, or the Bachelor, has been called racist before, or, like, their lack of 100%. Diversity.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So, Ivan brings up, you texted me this. Ivan pulls out his TPC. What is it called?
PTC, personal tragedy card or personal trauma card. That's a phrase used in the Game of Roses podcast. They have a bunch of cool ways to describe it. They break down The Bachelor like it is a sports game. And yeah, it's PTC. Everybody has one. I don't think they would even let you on the show if you didn't have a personal trauma or tragedy, because you'll find that in these dates everyone's mentioning my parents broke up and it's really affected me, or like I've been married before, or with who was that guy at the beginning of the season with Claire, I forget about him now, he left, but even him, like, he's talking about all of his traumas about not being able to open up, and my parents have never had a good marriage, and like, everybody needs to have one of these. So he brought up his personal tragedy card, which was that his brother, who he cared about a lot, went to prison. So sorry, there you go.
No, totally. And yeah, that makes sense. And so he kind of gets emotional about it, and obviously it's an emotional thing. There's like a kid involved, and like the kid didn't get to see his dad, and real, like,
I cried. I cried watching this. It was so sad, and he was crying too, and he's such a sweetheart.
Okay, so I know that Tasha and him have like had a thing, they've talked or whatever, but when a guy, and maybe this is totally not an experience for you, but have you ever had a dude throw down his PTC in like the first couple dates and started crying about it with you?
No, that's not something that would go well, but just in this microwave that is the Bachelorette, you need to progress really quickly. Like, you also have a lot of people saying that they're falling in love with her after only knowing her for a week and a half. Like, if somebody did that to me that I'd only know for a week and a half, I would think that's pretty weird too. And then they get married after 6 weeks of knowing each other, or engaged. So yeah, it would not work for me in real life, but in this whole situation, you just have to meet those milestones. You need to open up. That's so important in the show, is to open up. You need to be vulnerable. You need to say that you're falling in love with them, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, it wouldn't work for me, but it's necessary in this show.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't love the crying. My boyfriend has never ever cried in front of me, and probably not ever. Like,
really?
Oh yeah, we're always pretty happy, but I've never seen him cry, and that's just not how he deals with his emotions. But nothing really emotional happens with us, so that's kind of nice.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't cry. I don't do that. We talked about it a little bit last week about kind of like the emotions, and like how guys' emotions are, you don't see them as much. So when they actually come out, it's a lot more genuine. And so I think that's a testament to Ivan's genuine nature, is that he actually opened up, but he cried about it, because like a guy can't tap into his emotion like that. And maybe that's a broad stroke of a brush, but unless you're an actor and a guy, I don't know if you can do that very easily. Someone can comment and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just my observation.
No, that seems super genuine from him, but I mean, there are also guys who weep a lot. I know plenty of guys who will cry at pretty standard things. So, I mean, I don't think it really says anything about a person. And I don't know. It seems like this situation is really emotional for him, obviously, and it was genuine and lovely. So.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Like, me from March until June, I think it was, that was like every day. That sucked. I didn't like that. But up until before then, we'll get into my PTC later. But that was PTS,
PDC.
personal strategies, PDC. Yeah, right.
Yeah, card.
But yeah, so
I should mention that I took that from the Game of Roses podcast, so I can't claim being clever about that at all. So, but yeah, PTC.
You heard it here first, folks. PTC. So now they kind of get into the whole, because his brother's in prison, and he said the correctional officers would beat him up, and they got into like the whole George Floyd movement. I mean that a part of that, to me, like, for as genuine as it is, and I'm not questioning this for the wrong reasons, but like, is that a producer thing to address their previous lack of acknowledging race and diversity? Are they making up for something before? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Is like, is this a forced thing that they're trying to include here? And I would say that this is a historic moment for the Bachelorette and Bachelor, because previously they have not acknowledged racism in the slightest. Like, they would have, they've had people come on to talk about bullying and how all these people are being bullied, but they would not specifically mention racism. And they really, really shied away from it in the past. So I think perhaps these conversations happen a lot. Like, they had a Black Bachelorette and Rachel Lindsay, and I'm sure she was having similar conversations on her dates, but they did not include them. Whereas here is a really real raw moment between two people who have struggled with this, who are of color and are experiencing racism, and they're showing it. Like, the fact that they are choosing to put this on is like, maybe it's a producer moment in that they felt pressured to finally put it in, like they've picked their moment. But in any case, good on them, because I mean, hopefully in the future they'll be more open to discussing these issues of race and real life conversations that people who are dating have. And it's really nice that two people who have experienced something like this can come together and have a conversation about it, and it be shown. Like, so much of the Bachelor and Bachelorette it seems really fabricated and phony, and this was raw, and it was cool to see. So, and you could see that Tayshia was really struggling with it. Like, she didn't even have the words to describe how she was feeling, and it was just a nice thing for America to be exposed to, I think, in such divisive times.
You took my jumbled words and you just kind of like put it into a company's HR department format memo and just like handed it off. So awesome. Thank you for making me make sense.
There you go.
There we go. So yeah, things there after that whole conversation, they make out if things are great, hunky dory. And yeah, just like after that whole segment from watching it, it was like, hey, I like Ivan. Ivan's right up there for me.
Oh, love him.
He's super basic, but in kind of the right ways. There's nothing wrong about him. He's wholesome. He's likable. And yeah, I'm subscribed to Ivan.
You're a stan. You're an Ivan stan.
I'm an Ivan Thad, actually. I'm a Spencer stan, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Love it.
Okay, so this like whole scavenger hunt thing was kind of funny too. I liked that. For what they can do, that was pretty clever.
Yeah, an interesting kind of background. So they had Becca from The Bachelorette come on and kind of host the date with them, and this took place in mid June or July, I guess they were filming, and that is right when she was going through a separation from her fiance that she met on The Bachelorette a few years ago, because turns out he's a racist, so they broke up. So it was just interesting. What? Yeah, her fiance Garrett, before the show, or I guess during the show, they revealed like tweets of his that were kind of racist, and everyone's like, oh, Garrett's kind of a racist, but she ended up going with him anyways. And then just over the course of the like Black Lives Matter movement and everything, he was posting like Blue Lives Matter type stuff, and I think he just really wasn't backing down on the All Lives Matter type things. And he is just kind of known for being a super fundamental Republican, and that did not align with her beliefs. She's come out and said that she has a podcast with Rachel Lindsay where she's talked about this, and yeah, they were in the middle of a pretty public breakup while this was being filmed. So I was just interested to kind of take the temperature on how she was doing at that time, and she came off lovely and pleasant, but she was going through a lot while that was being filmed.
His name's Lee Garrett.
Is it? I think I've
Garrett Lee, maybe. I'm just like looking
through Garrett Yegorian. They call him in other podcasts I listen to. They call him Ma Garrett, like MAGA Garrett, because he's just super Trumpy. And him and like Tomi Lahren have been communicating and stuff. Like he's that far right, and Becca's a lot more liberal, we'll say. So I think. Yeah, there comes a point where it just doesn't jive anymore.
I'm just going through his tweets, and he's just a really obnoxious guy. Like, just for everyone out there, like I'm like quite a conservative guy, and like I would never, like, you can't say things like what he's saying ever.
Well, there are two Garretts from the Bachelor franchise who are seen as fundamentalist conservative, so you might be reading one of the other Garrett stuff. But
what's up with these Garretts?
I know. Popular name in
what is it, Lee Garrett or
no? Is Garrett Yegorian? It's
is like it a Y?
Yeah, YGOR something or other. But these are tweets from like before he was on the show, so it's one of those things where people dug up weird tweets and different likes that he has, like when you're liking different posts that were kind of questionable. So
that's kind of unfortunate, because like if he held beliefs before, like I believe people can change and their opinions can change over time. I don't think people that get stuff dug up on them like that is I don't think that's necessarily fair.
I don't think it was like much before. I think it was like a week before he went on the show kind of thing. And the point is he hasn't changed. He really dug his heels in kind of denying the Black Lives Matter movement. And Rachel Lindsay, for instance, who was another lead of color, she just straight up said on her podcast, he's a piece of shit. So if she's willing to say that publicly, he must have done something really brutal kind of behind closed doors, especially because Becca's her co-host and one of her friends. And if you disrespect your friend's boyfriend or fiance or even like ex like that publicly, it must show that he's really difficult, or just things aren't aligning there. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, that's totally fair. It's so, you have to be so careful with what you say or what opinion, even though if you think it's the right thing, and there you might have people that agree with you, but at what cost? You just stay away from anything political, anything religious. It'll always come back to bite you in the arse.
And what you'll see is a lot of these contestants or post-contestants are super apolitical. Like, they won't say who they're voting for. They'll rarely show any political allegiance because they don't want to be divisive in any way, because that would limit their audience. That would limit their amount of SponCon or sponsored content, because their audience would split in half pretty much. So when you do see contestants like Dale Moss, for instance, came out and said that he is a Biden and Harris stan, that's atypical. That is unusual to see something like that. So I
would encourage you to look for that in the future and see which contestants are actually coming out saying who they're voting for or showing any allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
But like these guys, because here you are, we have these two Garretts where lots of people are not happy with them. And if they just kept their mouth shut, then maybe their audience or mass appeal would have remained the same. But now everyone's like, you guys kind of suck. And off we go.
It's just exhausting. And
I know.
It's I feel bad that a relationship had to end because of a political stance, but that's all it takes nowadays. So,
well, it's not necessarily a political stance. It's sort of a values thing, I think, as well. And that's kind of what it came down to. So some differences are too great to be forgotten, I guess. So,
right.
Yeah, but that's just Becca for you. So now they're on the scavenger hunt, yes.
So scavenger hunt, orgasms, right? Cow intestines, yes. So, okay. Also, I need to clarify that Riley's name is Romeo.
Oh, okay, got it.
Because he's
Romeo, yeah.
He's very
smooth.
Yeah, smooth.
Or he thinks he is.
Exactly. And so I kind of have just noticed how he's like that, and it's kind of funny. So we just call him Romeo. So they're all paired up. They got to go do this little scavenger hunt, and they're like chugging smoothies with all these different. I think the cow intestines that one is just like too far. I could do crickets, I think, because people eat crickets.
People eat crickets.
But like tripe is disgusting.
I mean, I heard a hot take that they didn't think there was actually anything in there, that it was just a phony thing. Or maybe it was a psychological thing, but where are they sourcing all of this stuff? Like, do they really care? It was just like tomato juice and something else gross in it. There was a hot take I heard that there's nothing in there. Movie magic. Yeah.
Movie magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the most noteworthy part of everything was the orgasms that they had to do, the fake orgasms over the intercom.
So shocking, yeah.
I was honestly I love Blake. Like, I didn't think too much of Blake before, but after the accordion thing and him literally just he just screamed. Like, that's what he does. He just oh, and just squelches. It was so funny.
I love the leg up on the podium, like dry humping the podium. So funny.
I really enjoyed that. Bennett's was good too. Damar had some moves.
When he said, "Don't worry about that," what are you talking about? What did you do, Bennett?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. What?
He's funny. And the proposal with after eating a spicy pepper. Blake again, just like he wants to be his vision is like to be the 85-year-old couple that sits on the park bench. That was funny, but Bennett just was dialed on that one.
Mm-hmm.
He just
he was all in.
He was all in, just manned through it. And he's kind of corny, but he's like, it actually got real for me there. Like, I was actually proposing, and he just kind of went to this whole charming aspect. I thought it was funny how when Bennett they went for a little one-on-one later, and this is a part of it was actually truth. It was a truth part or something like that. They had to Tasha was just asking questions and
truth or dare.
Asking if he was married before or something, and he's like, no, but I was dolled up for a wedding, just chalking a wedding up. And that was pretty funny.
This actually came out beforehand. People were sleuthing through his Instagram, and it looked like he was in that relationship and engaged very recently before being on the show. Within the last year, he was engaged and dialed up for that wedding, so to speak. So it's interesting. He switched gears pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, I don't know. How soon do you know?
I want to say 6 months.
Oh, wow. And if you're engaged, either she must have done something that he could have just dropped in a minute, or he's just he's kind of like an American Psycho guy and just didn't care. Just moves on to the next. Pop.
Okay, so then after Bennett, who did we have?
Yeah, Blake came up, and, you know, he mentions he's got a great relationship with all of his exes, and, like, he seemed, like, genuine about that. And I mean, like, I'm a fan of Blake. I don't think he's gonna go all the way, but I really like him. He's funny.
Did you see? Did I send this to you? The yearbook post of him that's most likely to live with his parents until he is 30 or something, and it was him. So, and I think he does. My boyfriend's sister's boyfriend, who knows him, thinks that he lives in his parents' cabin in Muskoka still. So, but apparently, apparently his parents are loaded, so he's just living off of his parents' stuff at the moment. That's an assumption.
Oh, well.
Don't take my word for it, but yeah.
I mean, like, you know, good for him. Good for him. People should do that more often.
No.
Yeah, and then, you know, I don't think Riley is going to go very far. I didn't really pay too much attention to him. But for, like, some reason, Tayshia and Zach, like, she really likes... Yeah, you don't get it. I kind of get it. I like Zach. I just don't, like... Like, it's just that type of guy, like what we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's like a kind of a quieter, a little bit softer of a guy. You know, he's nice. I think he's good. What do you think about him?
Yeah, so I think my hot take on him is that he is a bit of a creep, in the sense that if someone told me that he was stalking a girl in college or something, I would not be surprised. Like, I wouldn't think that he would do that, but if someone's like, oh yeah, he, like, wouldn't leave my foyer in my dorm room for all night while he was wasted, like, that would not surprise me. But if he's a nice guy, I would also believe that too.
See, Ed gives me those vibes.
Okay. Ed gives me strong producer Plant vibes, is what he gives me.
Yeah.
Every move he makes, he has no chance with Tayshia at all. But I guess we'll get into it later with his whole Chris Harrison thing. But none of that is possible without the aiding of the producers. So that was a big storyline planned by them. Anyways, back to the dates.
Yeah, and I was a bit confused because, you know, after the group date, Zach got the rose, and I was a little confused. I didn't know if that was, like, a producer move, because, like, I thought there was some better ones. I definitely thought Bennett would have got it. You know, Bennett did really well for the beginning of the day.
Yeah, but Zach and her were making out in a hot tub. And
yeah,
also, that was so awkward to watch. I was not feeling the vibes there, but... Yeah. I thought Bennett had a chance. I was hoping he did get it, but there you go.
Speaking of Ben, Ben's still complaining that he made a mistake.
He blew it.
But the producers helped him. So this is just like kind of a move that I figured out was a producer thing, because like Ben and Ed at the same time are going to go to Tayshia's to have a convo, and it was like kind of a setup. We get that.
There's no coincidence at all.
No coincidence. And Ed ends up going to Chris's at 2:30 in the morning. Chris is just like ready to hang out, makeup and all.
So here's the thing. It would not have been 2:30 in the morning. Chris Harrison knew exactly what was happening. The producers walked him up to his door, and if he really wanted to go see Tayshia, like if that was the genuine intent, then he would have been like, oh, sorry about this. I actually got to go find Tayshia's place. Like, imagine if he actually wanted to go see Tayshia and the producers led him to Chris Harrison's house. How annoyed that would be. So I think at this point, he has a deal with the producers. We'll keep you in here for a few more weeks as long as you do all the weird stuff we want you to do. And you see that week over week, he's instigating things. He's being the clown with a baby in his hands. He is sitting down with Chris Harrison and doing B-roll shots of him toasting and talking about stuff in the house. Like, he is just playing his role, and it's getting to be a little much for me.
Yeah, that's just a character, B-roll character.
But conversely, we have Ben, who is pulling it off beautifully.
Yeah. So Ben pulls up the champagne, pulls up the strawberries, and like that look that Tasha gave Ivan, she gives to Ben. Have you ever noticed? Speaking of our infatuation with like hand size, have you ever noticed how big his hands are?
No, are they massive?
Look next time. They're huge. I had no idea until like I really paid attention. But he's a big man. And
yeah, he's got really big thighs.
Yeah,
he was in the military. He's got to be built.
Yeah, no, he's super built. So they hit it off. They're like making out. They're doing good.
And then room service comes. Again, you cannot get room service without the help of the producers. So they're standing Ben at this point. They could have had Ed go in there, but they chose Ben for this. So there you have it.
Yep. Benny does it.
Yeah, I kind of I like him, but then he does a few things that reminds me of a person that I don't like. So
Who?
You don't know them, and I wouldn't out that publicly who I'm not a fan of. But he's just, you don't know them, so it doesn't even matter. But just kind of soft. I don't know. Like, just looks like a big baby.
Baby.
Okay.
So, but yeah, he just apologizes to her. He's all like nervous and cutesy with her, and
yeah, maybe maybe because he's like too nervous. Like I like a confident guy who's not gonna be like, I hate to admit this, but you give me butterflies in my stomach. Like I want a dude to come in and just be like, yep, I'm the best, and we're great together. That I would go for that more.
Yeah, little less finesse, more just like straight up.
Mm-hmm.
No, smart girl knows what she
confidence.
wants.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're moving kind of past that, and then cuts to, I think the boys are all chatting, and Ed's just kind of going after Noah, called Noah a joke. Ed's just there, like we just mentioned. He's kind of just stirs the pot, and he's just whatever. And through this whole time, which actually took me by surprise, like we haven't heard or seen Chasen once during this whole process, this whole episode, just not even once.
Yeah.
And that kind of reminded me of that, which was weird. I was like, where, like there was the drama last episode. What is going on? And then it just kind of died because Chasen was just non-existent. So, what is this? It's like before the rose, they each get time with her. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's the cocktail party, so it's kind of your last chance to have some one-on-one time with her. And for those who maybe didn't get a good chance to connect with them during a group date, or maybe they didn't even get a date that week because some people don't get dates earlier on in the season, they can sit down. So a lot of people are just really vying for her attention here.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Cocktail party. So, Ben, when they were like doing their little champagne, not the cocktail party, but like the night before, he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be the first person to grab your hand," and da 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 da. And then Ben held his word, and he grabbed her, and it's all about showing up. He said,
"Showing up."
I told her I'm gonna show up, so I'm gonna keep showing up. I'm gonna keep showing up.
Grown ass man.
Grown ass man. So Ben, he growed up. He got a grown ass man.
Mm-hmm.
And they had their thing. Romeo made some like contract. Like I don't want to give him too much time because like I'm not a fan.
He's got one more episode probably tops. So bye.
Yeah. So he like does this relationship contract, and then he kind of like forces the snog out of her, and I was like, "Nyeh."
Hate it.
Yeah. Brendan gets a snog. He's safe. And then Noah isn't going to lie. He opens up about getting like roasted by the boys for hopping into the ring for that like wrestling episode. Noah said that Tasha only gave him the rose because she wanted to like mix things up.
Or cause a reaction from the other guys.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm not trying to start drama or anything, but like just totally starting drama. And so Tayshia just isn't having any of it, takes all the boys into the other room, cancels all the rest of the dates, and like now everyone is like super pissed at Noah. But like the good thing about Noah is that he just like kind of owned it. He's like, yeah, I said this to her. Like he kind of played.
He didn't need to, right?
He didn't.
Why
need to
why
at
would
all.
you do that?
Yeah, he's just young and naive.
Yeah, he's a bit of a plug, I think.
Piece of work.
But here, usually a tattle doesn't work, but I think he executed this one perfectly, and that he isn't tattling on one person specifically. He's not, calling out Easy. He's calling out the entire group, and he's safe at this point. He has a rose, so it's not like it could go in the other direction, because that's sometimes what happens is one person will call out one dude, and then they'll sit them both down, and then they'll decide who's going to go home. But he already has the rose, so he can say whatever he wants. And this works out really well in his favor. He's not calling out anyone's... Well, it works out well with him and Tayshia. With the guys, they're going to hate him forever, but how much do you really care about them? But yeah, it was okay in terms of a tattle.
No, interesting. Strategic,
yes.
We don't think he's as naive as we think he is.
Mm-hmm. He's playing chess, as they were saying. He's a bold move, yeah.
So I think this is going to be Bennett's denouement, though, because obviously, like, the insight to next week, Bennett is like saying how he's like babysitting Noah or something like that, which he totally doesn't have to.
No, but he's just so frustrated. Well, an interesting thing about next week, as we jump forward just a little bit, they have what appears to be Bennett and Noah going on a 2-on-1. So how the 2-on-1s work is that two typically people who have conflict will go on a date with the lead, and one of them goes home. That's always how it works. There's one rose up for grab, and the person who gets the rose stays, and the person who doesn't has to go home right then and there. So they're setting up Bennett and Noah to have this face-off, and one of them's going to go home. They're going to have this conflict all boiled up. So who do you think's going to make it through, Bennett or Noah?
Personally, I want Bennett. I'm a fan of Bennett over Noah. Like, I was all in for Noah because I liked what he did last week, but now I just think he's kind of annoying.
He's a baby, and I think Bennett's right that he does not stand a chance with Tayshia. That's not going to happen. At the beginning of the season, I thought when they were doing the previews for the whole season, it did appear that they were giving Noah this sort of villain edit, and I thought that he would be sticking around a little bit longer, like when they were giving that content from the father being like, why would you choose this guy kind of thing. They overlapped that with images of Noah, so you would think that that's who the dad is talking about. Why are you picking this guy? But it might be a fake out, because I don't think he can make it past Bennett here. I think Bennett can talk his way around this and really show that Noah's a immature little baby.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think obviously I want Bennett. Noah, definitely a little baby, but I think Bennett just needs to chill out and just not, in an ideal world, just not take on the responsibility of being the babysitter, and then put himself in a position where he has to deal with it.
Yeah, but I mean, they're all so bored there, and I'm sure they're all really irritable and super hot and sweaty. And at this point, you just get super irritated with the people around you, and he's acting on that. So
here's an observation.
Okay,
the roses, they're fake roses.
Yeah,
like, I was kind of triggered by that.
Oh, were you? Why?
It's like a big you don't give them fake roses. There's somewhere in budget where you gotta get some good roses. You gotta get some real roses. Think if you're gonna have a rose ceremony, you gotta have real roses.
I wonder, they might not look as good on camera. Like maybe the fake roses are bigger and fluffier or something, or more bold red colors. Yeah, and it's just more practical for sure. But I like your integrity there.
No, you got to keep the rose integrity. It's the only kind of integrity.
Yes. But we moved on to next week, but we have some notable eliminations here. Jordan's gone. I liked him. Joe. Oh, Joe. I love Joe.
Jordan with the glasses?
Jordan with the glasses is out.
You liked Jordan with the glasses?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
He seemed really, really sweet and athletic. I don't know.
Hairdo.
Yeah. As he was being eliminated, I was looking at his like wet noodle hair, and I was like, I understand. I probably couldn't deal with that either. Yeah. But
as a dude that's like losing his hair, like I can comment on that. Hairdo.
Oh, is that like a hair loss cover-up thing?
No, it's just hair's kind of goofy.
Oh, okay, I see. As a girl who has long hair, I don't really pick up on that, but you're the expert.
I'm the expert of hair loss.
Yeah, but Joe has great flow. He had a little bun, a little man bun that I appreciated, and he is a really quality guy. I don't know. He just seems to have really good features about himself. I don't know. I wasn't a match for Tasha. I don't think he was a good player of the game. He is just not a match for the show, if that makes sense. He's just, he's too normal.
That makes sense. And I mean, like, I'm Team Joe. I like Joe. But he's just like almost too good for the show.
Yeah. He's too normal, and they need to have outrageous people.
Yeah.
So he's going to make someone really happy one day.
Speaking of outrageous, Ed stayed, and that just was
It's a producer thing, for sure.
Yeah.
He's just their little puppet doing all of the things. She obviously doesn't like him. That's not going to happen. But the producers like him. He'll do whatever they say, and that gets you far in the show. So hot tip for anyone who wants to be on The Bachelor or Bachelorette, just go along with it. And yeah, be a plug.
That was about it, though. Everyone else that went was like pretty normal. Again, like I commented on Chasen went. That was kind of expected.
Yeah, he didn't bring anything to the table, and super low key this episode. So that just goes to show you how like 1 week you could be painted in this brutal light, and then they just move on from you just as quickly. It's just whatever storyline they want to put forward, that's what you're gonna see. And just like that, he's gone. But yeah, that pretty much covers it for this week. Do you have any final thoughts on what we saw here?
No, I just think we have to try every week, and maybe next week, let's find one of those guys, one of the contestants, and let's try to DM him.
I'll DM all of them.
But we got to do like a little competition between you and I, where we can like try and send a message to one guy and just try, and you get a point per response.
Okay, yeah, I'm very into that.
So,
because I messaged Bennett and he didn't respond. So if we send hateful messages, we're probably more likely to get responses.
So maybe next week, let's just find someone that we want to message, and then we'll message them on air, and then we'll report back in. But starting now, we'll have a point system moving forward.
Okay, I'm gonna message Joe because he's my favorite.
You're gonna message Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'll have to message Joe.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we're at like an hour on the dot. That's beautiful. Great work, team. And yeah, I guess we're pretty much done here.
Dunzo, bunzo. Next week.
I'm very excited for that. I'm excited to see the throwdown between Bennett and Noah. And yeah, very much looking forward to it.
See you then.
See you then. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Bye.
Bye.